Arcane is a 2021 Netflix original television series, highly regarded by both fans and critics due to its stunning visuals and animations, compelling characters, and a well-crafted universe that just draws in anyone who watches it. Arcane has maintained the high standards it raised for what an animation series should be when its second and final season aired 3 years later. And the proof is the numerous Emmy Awards the show has bagged, including Outstanding Animated Program for both seasons. What makes their accolades more impressive is that Arcane is based on the popular video game League of Legends. Originally, the show borrows from the game's lore, but in 2023, Riot Games, developer of League, has confirmed that Arcane's lore is officially canon, which means that moving forward, the game's storytelling will share the same universe as Arcane's. As mentioned, the show's universe is one of its highlights. So, without further ado, let's dive deep into the world of Arcane. Season 1 lays out the show's complex plot, focusing on sisters Vi and Jinx as they become involved in the unrest between Piltover and Zaun. A group of young Zaunites, Vi, her sister Powder, and their adoptive brothers Milo and Clagger, run atop the roofs of Piltover, a prosperous and progressive city where trade and innovation go hand in hand. They find their target house, which, according to their friend Ekko, who gave them the tip, belongs to a rich guy who bought things from him for double the price. And indeed, they discover several valuable items. In one room, Powder discovers the mysterious blue gems. Then, Vi hears the owner of the apartment coming back. She tells everyone to grab their loot bags and escape. In the rush of the moment, Powder grabs the gems but fails to see one falling to the floor. Electrical charges form around it as if building up energy until it causes a huge explosion that shakes the neighborhood. The four young thieves run for their lives as the enforcers try to catch them. Eventually, they return to Zaun, Piltover's poor counterpart. Most of Zaun is located underground and filled with polluted air coming from the mines. People call it the Undercity and Piltover the topside. Zaun is riddled with poverty and crime, but that's also where our thieves come from. Vi considers their heist successful. However, they get stopped by Deckard and his gang. Vi entrusts their loot to Powder, but the girl gets cornered. With no choice, she throws the bag to the river, allowing her to escape. Later, when Milo learns about this, he gets upset and calls Powder a jinx. Vi steps up for her sister and assures her that's not the case. The children lie low in the basement of a bar owned by their adoptive father, Vander. Vander learns about the fiasco, and he's not happy about it. He's disappointed with Vi leading her siblings in this mess, but he also does his best to protect them from the enforcers who have started their search for the culprits. Another person who's not happy about the incident is Sheriff Grayson. She and Vander had a deal. Vander, recognized by most Zaunites as their leader, will keep his people away from the top side, and Grayson will keep her enforcers away from the Undercity. But then, the heist happens, and things become complicated when it's revealed that the robbed apartment belongs to Jayce Tallis. He's a brilliant inventor, sponsored by House Kiraman, who happens to be one of the powerful families in Piltover and has a seat in the council. This puts pressure on Grayson to capture the culprit as soon as possible. In Piltover, Jayce is being investigated because the heist has revealed the unsanctioned experiments he's been doing. Jayce tells his mentor, Heimerdinger, that he's actually researching the arcane, or what is basically magic in their universe. In a flashback, it's revealed that Jayce and his mother had been saved by a mysterious mage who used a rune stone to channel magic and get them out of a snowstorm. This incident has inspired Jayce to dive deep into the study of the arcane, with the purpose of harnessing it with science to help people. However, Heimerdinger strongly recommends Jayce not pursue his study. Heimerdinger has lived a long life, and thus he's witnessed how the arcane can be destructive in the hands of those with bad intentions. He believes that the arcane is better left untouched by mortals. But during his trial, Jayce reveals his study to everyone. His mother stands up for him, although she makes it sound like Jayce has been misguided with his ambitions. In the end, Jayce is allowed to stay in Piltover, but he's banned from researching magic again. Later, Jayce is approached by someone who's become interested in his research. Viktor, Heimerdinger's assistant and another brilliant inventor, says he believes in Jayce's work, and so he promises to help him realize his research. Back in Zaun, Marcus receives a tip from Silco, one of Zaun's underground crime lords. As it happens, Deckard is Silco's lackey and has reported to him about Vi's group's involvement in the explosion. So, Silco tells Marcus this information in exchange for arresting and bringing Vander to him. Marcus fails the deal, but it results in two things. First, some citizens have lost faith in Vander, who remains neutral and won't fight back. And second, Vi realizes all this will end if she surrenders herself. She sends a secret message to Grayson and awaits her arrest, but Vander intercepts. Locked up in the basement, Vi watches through the window as Vander gets escorted by Grayson and Marcus, with Benzo accompanying them. But this arrest ends in a horrific tragedy when a wild monster attacks them, fatally slashing Grayson and Benzo, and drags an unconscious Vander away. This monster is Deckard, who has ingested a new substance called Shimmer. This is created by Silco and a scientist named Singed, with the purpose of helping their fellow oppressed Zaunites stand up against Piltover. For the longest time, the Council of Piltover has overlooked Zaun in the name of progress, and Zaun has always fought for its independence. Silco tells this to his captive Vander to show him that his way is much better. These two used to be friends and dream about Zaun's freedom, but Silco didn't like Vander's way of doing it, and so he went his own way. To Silco, the shimmer is the base violence necessary for change. Meanwhile, Vi, Milo, and Clagger get ready to rescue their father, and Powder is told to stay put. Vi gives her a flare and instructs her to light it up so she can rescue her when needed. However, in her mind, Powder thinks she's being left behind. She bawls as she deals with her emotions of abandonment. And then she sees the blue gems, which, as she remembers, caused the explosion from their heist. Vi, Milo, and Clagger reach the warehouse where Vander is kept. To buy time so Milo and Clagger can free Vander, Vi fights against Silco's thugs and keeps her ground until she almost gets beaten by Monster Deckard. Eventually, they release Vander, but a devastating explosion ravages the warehouse. Milo and Clagger unfortunately die. The wounded Vander, seeing that Decker is about to go after Vi, injects Shimmer into himself and becomes a monster too. He defeats Deckard and takes Vi out of the crumbling warehouse. Just before he dies, he tells Vi to take care of Powder. Vi is deeply distraught after seeing her adoptive father and brothers lose their lives, and it worsens when Powder comes running to her and reveals she caused the explosion to help them escape. Vi knows her sister never meant any of this. Still, she snaps, slapping her and calling her a Jinx. Then she walks away, but she immediately regrets her action, and she's about to go back to Powder when she sees Silco comforting the girl. In Powder's mind, Vi has abandoned her, and therefore, she's no longer her sister. Vi wants to take Powder back, but she gets apprehended by Marcus. In Piltover, Jayce and Viktor sneak into Heimerdinger's lab to get the right materials for their research. They get caught by another counselor, Mel Medarda, but she allows them to continue. After stabilizing the blue gems, they manage to get a breakthrough. They can transport small objects from one point to another. Heimerdinger sees his students floating in air as a result of their breakthrough. He eventually gives in and finally allows Jayce and Viktor to go through with their arcane research. This leads to the creation of Hextech, a magic-based technology that utilizes runes to channel magic through stable crystals known as Hextech gemstones. In the years that follow, Piltover has become a global capital for trading, thanks to the hexgates. These are huge towers that utilize Hextech to teleport shipments in and out of the city. As Piltover celebrates its 200th Progress Day, Jayce and Viktor are expected to showcase something new about the Hextech. The two friends plan to unveil their new creations, devices powered by Hextech gemstones, intended to be developed to help several industries. But when Heimerdinger sees the devices, he warns against their potential dangers and advises them to take more time developing their creations. Jayce ends up not revealing the devices, much to Viktor's disappointment. In Zaun, years after the explosive tragedy, Silco has gained power thanks to Shimmer. He's established a lucrative business, smuggling refined versions of Shimmer to Piltover and other parts of the world. As for the little girl once called Powder, she's now a teenager, known as Jinx, and works for Silco. During one of these smuggling operations, a group known as the Firelights attacks the shipment. When Jinx sees a reddish pink-haired Firelight, she gets reminded of her sister Vi and she starts shooting everywhere. After the tragic events that led to Vi abandoning her, Jinx has become unstable and she often hallucinates conversing with Milo and Clagger. And whenever she sees anything that reminds her of Vi, like what happened with the Firelights, she relapses, succumbing to her violent breakdowns. Despite this, Jinx is aware that Silco lost a valuable shipment because of her. So to make up for it, she goes to Piltover and steals the gemstone that Jayce is supposed to unveil, as well as the research notes about Hextech. She also triggers an explosion as a distraction, claiming the lives of 6 enforcers. The council is informed about this. Mel suggests that Jayce become one of the counselors to oversee the protection of Hextech. Meanwhile, Caitlyn Kierman, Jayce's childhood friend and now an enforcer, investigates the explosion. She sees the monkey graffiti, the same one as the mark she saw in the botched Shimmer smuggling operation she's also looking into. Caitlyn's investigation leads her to Stillwater Hold, where she meets the adult Vi. After getting apprehended by Marcus, Vi was imprisoned, and there she ruminated the years away and vowed to get her sister back. Caitlyn believes that Vi is linked to the stolen gemstones and the smuggling operations, so she releases her from prison. Vi leads Caitlyn to Zaun via parkour. However, she couldn't care less about the enforcer's motives. All Vi wants is to look for Powder. Vi tracks down Savika, a traitor to Vander, and now a second-in-command to Silco. From Savika, Vi learns what happened to Powder. In their altercation, Vi gets wounded, and Caitlyn leaves her for a while to look for help. In her short time in Zaun, Caitlyn realizes just how deprived life is in the Undercity. Illegal trade is everywhere, enabled by Silco and his group of so-called chem barons. She meets Huck, who shows her the way to the apothecary to get medicine. Huck is among hundreds of people who are too addicted to Shimmer and are left in that desolate place, abandoned and forgotten. Meanwhile, Marcus, having replaced Grayson as a sheriff, confronts Silco for the explosion Jinx caused. The corrupt officer remains in the pockets of the crime lord, but the loss of 6 enforcers is out of the deal. Silco is indifferent, and he tells Marcus to pin the attack on the rogue group Firelights. But later, Silco reprimands Jinx for acting out of order. Then, he discovers the gemstone she stole, so he encourages her to continue working on it. However, the blue shimmers coming from the gemstone triggers Jinx's trauma, and she keeps telling herself it was all a mistake. Silco brings Jinx to the river to have a symbolic baptism. He tells Jinx she should let Powder die because Jinx is already perfect, and that's the only way for her to move forward. This seems to be effective, as Jinx manages to recreate a crude replica of the device that stabilizes the gemstone. But Silco's problems don't end there. Savika informs him about Vi's return. He instructs his underlings, and blackmails Marcus too, to eliminate Vi to prevent their meeting. However, Jinx has gotten wind of what happened to Savika, and eventually learns about her sister's return. She lights up a flare, the one Vi gave her before. As expected, Vi goes to where the flare is located, and she sees Jinx. What should have been an emotional reunion between the sisters becomes marred when Caitlyn also arrives. Jinx assumes Vi has replaced her with the Enforcer. It doesn't help that the Firelights chose that time to attack. They manage to steal the gemstone from Jinx and kidnap Vi and Caitlyn. In Piltover, Jayce is becoming overwhelmed by the politics of being a counselor. After receiving a seat in the council, he orders a blockade on the bridge following the robbery, which significantly affected Piltover's trade. Mel, with whom he's having a romantic affair, helps him navigate the politics and advises him to compromise. With his role as a counselor, Jayce almost neglects his friend and research partner, Viktor, whose ailment becomes serious every day. When Viktor collapses in the laboratory one day, Jayce realizes he's strayed from his original path of helping people. After Viktor develops the Hex Core, the two friends show it to Heimerdinger. The Hex Core interacts with organic matter, but it also depletes the life out of it. Again, Heimerdinger strongly advises against developing the Hex Core, much to their disappointment. Still, they decide to go with it, with Viktor mentioning someone he thinks can help with the Hex Core, while Jayce takes the political path. When the council next convenes, Jayce conspires against Heimerdinger, citing that his knowledge of the past is preventing them from making progress for their future. This leads to Heimerdinger's forced retirement. With Viktor, he goes to Zaun, as it's revealed he was originally from there. He meets with Singed, whom he'd known from his childhood and had helped in taking care of his giant pet named Rio. Singed gives Viktor a variant of Shimmer, which can help a test subject survive the Hex Core process. Once he returns to the laboratory, Viktor injects himself with the Shimmer, slices his hand open, and then tries to touch the Hex Core. The Hex Core seems to react less violently now that Shimmer is in his system. It modifies his legs, turning them into something metallic, which allows him to run for the first time. Meanwhile, Vi and Caitlyn wake up in an unfamiliar place. They discover that Ekko is the leader of the Firelights, and he's brought them to the only place that's safe from Silco's Shimmer. Ekko explains how Silco took over Zaun after Vander's death and made the populace addicted to Shimmer. The Firelights is the only faction that makes an effort in rehabilitating the addicted. Caitlyn finally puts the pieces together. Silco has always been the man behind the distribution of Shimmer, and with Jinx working for him, it's not far off that they may have figured out how to utilize the Hextech gemstone to their advantage. Caitlyn suggests returning the gemstone to Jayce, vouching that her friend will listen to them. Vi and Ekko agree, so the trio decide to return to Piltover, and when they cross the bridge, they discover that it's been barricaded under Jayce's orders, with Marcus overseeing the operation. Unbeknownst to all of them, Jinx is watching from afar. When she sees her sister running back to help Caitlyn and Ekko, as Marcus has started shooting at them, Jinx becomes filled with envy and jealousy. She sends flying mini-bombs towards the bridge, which causes havoc in the area. Vi and Caitlyn manage to cross to Piltover, carrying the container with the gemstone, but Ekko stays, intending to defeat Jinx. However, he hesitates at the final moment, seeing that she's still his childhood friend Powder. Jinx detonates a bomb near them, gravely injuring them both. In the aftermath of the incident, Silco finds his surrogate daughter on the bridge, still holding the gemstone that she managed to get out from its container. He brings Jinx to Singed, demanding medical treatment. Singed injects Jinx with Shimmer, causing her immense pain in the process. Meanwhile, Jayce and Mel see the murder that happened on the bridge. Later, Counselor Cassandra Kiraman helps her daughter Caitlyn seek an audience with the council. Caitlyn, together with Vi, explains explains that it's Silco who's behind all the atrocities that have happened, and that Sheriff Marcus has always been on Silco's payroll, protecting the smuggling activities. She also reports about Jinx stealing the gemstone and the possibility that she may have figured out how to use it. However, the council chooses inaction, as they don't want to have a full war against Zaun. This decision greatly disappoints Vi. Later, Jayce, Viktor, and Mel discuss the probable use of the gemstones in the escalating tension between Piltover and Zaun. Mel has a point when she says they should consider creating weapons, given that Zaun has the shimmer and the knowledge about the gemstone. Viktor is greatly against it, staying true to their original intentions about using Hextech for the good of the people. But Jayce, although he's against weaponizing Hextech, understands that there may be a point where they have to stray away from their visions. After this meeting, Vi comes to Jayce, proposing a way of taking down Silco. Instead of facing him head-on, they should target the one thing that gives him power. And so, Jayce leads a bust operation on one of Silco's shimmer factories. He uses his forged giant hammer powered by Hextech. Vi is also in on this, and she uses the giant gauntlets Jayce first created. Their weapons prove to be effective even against shimmer-enhanced guards. However, Jayce accidentally kills a young boy with his hammer, and this makes him rethink his true goal with the Hextech. Meanwhile, several important things happen as well. Heimerdinger, now exiled after his forced retirement, has a chance meeting with the gravely injured Ekko. He helps the boy return to the Firelights, and there, Heimerdinger chooses to stay for the meantime. Ambessa Medarda, a well-known warlord from Noxus and Mel's estranged mother, arrives at Piltover. Ambessa informs Mel about her brother's assassination and warns her to prepare for an upcoming war. However, Mel is wary about her mother's true intentions, especially when Ambessa inquires about the Hextech. Viktor continues to experiment on himself by injecting shimmer into his body and connecting with the Hex core. However, on his last attempt, something terrible happens. His assistant, Skye, who's also his childhood friend, turns to dust when she tries to stop Viktor from getting absorbed by the Hex core. Full of guilt about Skye's demise and realizing that he couldn't fully understand and control its power, Viktor asks Jayce to destroy it. Jayce also has guilt of his own. After the tragedy at the Shimmer Factory, he realizes that the cost of going to war against Zaun is never worth it. He secretly meets with Silco and strikes a deal. He promises Zaun's independence if Silco will surrender Jinx. Silco is at a crossroads. Sitting by Vander's statue, he laments how he's been wanting Zaun's freedom, the very thing he and Vander used to fight for together. But this comes with a heavy price: surrendering Jinx. As Silco asks, is there anything so undoing as a daughter? He doesn't know that Jinx, now well from her treatment, overhears him. Jinx kidnaps Silco, as well as Vi and Caitlyn. Jinx forces Vi to choose between her and Caitlyn, but Vi offers that they should leave Zaun instead. Silco intervenes, convincing Jinx that Vi is lying. He vows that he'll never surrender her to Piltover despite what they are offering, adding that they can burn in hell. Caitlyn manages to free herself, and for a while she has Jinx at gunpoint. But Jinx, with her speed enhanced by the shimmer, knocks her out. Vi pleads with Jinx to remember who she was, that she's still Powder, who needs to wake up. Silco frees himself too and grabs the gun, but it's too late. Jinx succumbs to her breakdown and she starts shooting. When she calms down, she realizes she inadvertently shot Silco. With his dying breath, Silco affirms that Jinx will always be his perfect daughter. Devastated, Jinx finally chooses her new identity, and to embrace her Jinx persona, she launches a gemstone-powered rocket towards the Council of Piltover, which, at that time, is holding a meeting about Jayce's proposal for Zaun's independence. Season 2 starts with the aftermath of Jinx's rocket launch. Almost half of the council has perished, including Caitlyn's mother, Cassandra. Mel survives, thanks to her golden armor, and thanks to her protecting him, Jayce also survives. Viktor is there too, but his life is only hanging by a thread. Jayce merges Viktor with the Hex core, and he spends his time figuring out how to save his friend's life. The remaining council members, Mel, Shula, and Salo, decide on how they will react to the attack. Caitlyn has given her report that Jinx is the sole perpetrator, but Salo wants to invade Zaun to show dominance. In the end, they decide to invade the Undercity to capture Jinx, banning the use of Hextech until absolutely necessary. Before they carry out the invasion, they organize a memorial for the fallen council members. However, the event gets disrupted when a group of Zaunites attacks. Led by Rennie, one of Zaun's chem barons, the ambush is orchestrated so Rennie can avenge her son, who happens to be the boy Jayce accidentally killed earlier. The enforcers are outnumbered and outmatched, given that the attacking Zaunites are shimmer enhanced. Only when Ambessa and her Noxian forces arrived did the battle turn around, defeating Rennie and her forces. Caitlyn Caitlyn has been trying to give the Zaunites the benefit of the doubt, given their long history of poverty, but the memorial attack has made her realize why Piltover has always looked down on Zaun. With a new conviction, Caitlyn convinces Vi to join her in her quest to subdue Zaun. Vi is conflicted, but she eventually agrees. Caitlyn creates a specialized team that includes Vi and will use Hextech-powered weapons. They have 3 goals: eliminate the remaining Chem Barons, shut down the Shimmer factories once and for all, and capture Jinx. In the laboratory, Jayce is relieved when Viktor finally wakes up. The Hex Core is gone after merging itself with Viktor's body. Jayce admits he didn't follow his promise of destroying the Hex Core. Saddened by this, Viktor decides to part ways with his friend. Viktor returns to Zaun. Realizing that the Hex Core has become a part of his consciousness, he finds himself directed towards the most derelict parts of Zaun. There, he heals Huck, and this inspires others to follow him and form a cult-like commune. In another part of Zaun, Jinx reunites with Savika in Silco's former office. The two bond over Silco's passing. Jinx decides to create a robotic arm to replace the one previously destroyed by Vi. Just as Jinx finishes the arm, Caitlyn's group infiltrates her hideout. She escapes in the nick of time, but then she gets hounded by another group of thugs. One of the Chem Barons, named Smeech, has been trying to capture Jinx to surrender her to Piltover. Without Silco and Rennie, the remaining Chem Barons have been vying for power over Zaun, and Smeech thinks that handing Jinx over will solve his problems. Unfortunately for him, Jinx and Savika team up against him, and the new arm proves to be more than efficient, albeit carrying Jinx's chaotic signature. Jinx also meets a mute orphan named Isha, who decides to follow her around. Meanwhile, as the Firelights continue to accept and rehabilitate Zaunites, Ekko discovers that the tree providing them with resources is getting corrupted. Heimerdinger suggests they should meet with Jayce to see what's happening. They find Jayce alone in his laboratory, and they show him the corrupted leaf. Jayce recognizes the pattern as the same one he and Viktor saw back when the Hex Core interacted with organic matter. To find more answers, Jayce leads them to the Hex Vault, a chamber deep underground where they manage the Hex Gates. Ekko figures out this is how the Firelight tree got corrupted. Essence of the Arcane travels through the water pipes and air vents until it finds its way towards the tree. There, they see a wild rune, which seems to swallow them, distorting their reality until all 3 disappear. Back to Caitlyn, she becomes increasingly aggressive towards Zaun, which greatly worries Vi. Their relationship has progressed romantically, but it gets tested soon. Vi and Caitlyn pursue Jinx inside a ruined temple. A fight ensues between the sisters while Caitlyn faces Savika. Caitlyn knocks Savika out and Vi subdues Jinx. However, Isha intervenes, trying to save Jinx. Things get confusing, but Vi decides against Caitlyn shooting her sister. Savika takes the opportunity to distract them with an explosion. This causes the air vents to open up in Piltover and release the gray, the toxic, polluted fumes that have permeated Zaun. Because of this, Caitlyn severs ties with Vi. Caitlyn returns to Piltover, where Ambessa convinces the remaining powerful families to stand together and declare martial law. She also maneuvers Caitlyn to become the general who will lead their retaliation against Zaun and offers the service of her Noxian army. In a flashback, it's revealed that Ambessa is the real culprit behind the memorial attack. She lured Rennie into thinking she could avenge her son. This is part of her plan to take over Piltover and its legacy, the Hextech, and she has a sinister reason for doing so. Remember when she told Mel about her brother's assassination? The group behind it, known as the Black Rose, has sent another assassin, but this time the target is Ambessa. The assassin insinuates 2 things. First, they know that Ambessa is trying to wage war against them, and second, she has stolen something important from them. With the help of her second-in-command Rictus, Ambessa overpowers the assassin and kills her instead. Unbeknownst to Ambessa, the Black Rose has already captured Mel and taken her away. While all this is happening, the scientist Singed has captured a 2-headed wolf, which he uses in his new experiment. In the aftermath of the martial law announcement, Jinx becomes the symbol of Zaun's resistance against Piltover. Savika tries to encourage her to lead the revolution, but Jinx couldn't care less about it. After Silco's death, Jinx has lost her anchor to her identity. She doesn't know if she's still the Jinx Silco raised, or if there's any left of the little girl powder inside her. With Jinx's refusal to lead, Savika steps up and incites people to remain firm against Piltover. Isha, who greatly idolizes Jinx, causes a small ruckus during the rally. The Noxians and Enforcers, led by Rictus, capture everyone there, including Isha and Singed, and imprison them at Stillwater. Savika is fortunately safe, and she tells Jinx about what happened to the kid. Together, they infiltrate the prison, with Jinx dressing up as an enforcer. Once inside, they manage to take out the guards and release the prisoners. It's there that Jinx finally sees how people see her as their symbol of liberation. Just as Jinx, Isha, and Savika are about to leave, a monstrous beast attacks the prison and massacres the guards. This monster is Sinjid's new creation named Warwick. The bestial two-headed wolf he captured earlier has been used to revive none other than Vander. Warwick has tracked his creator using the blood that's been dripping from Singed hand since his capture. Jinx sends Savika and Isha away, intending to face the monster. Warwick sees Jinx and he almost rips her throat when he finally recognizes her as powder. Later, Caitlyn and Ambessa inspect the mayhem left at the prison. They see Singed still in his cell. Caitlyn recognizes him as Dr. Revok, the disgraced scientist who was banished from Piltover due to his unsanctioned experiments. In truth, he's trying to find a cure for his sick daughter Oriana, and he'll do anything, even if it's against their ethos. Ambessa persuades Singed to work for them. Right at that point, Ambessa still hasn't figured out how Hextech works, and now knowing that Singed created Warwick, she seeks his expertise for her army. Ambessa demands his utmost loyalty, and in return, she will provide him with everything he needs and treat him as an esteemed advisor. Singed accepts the deal. Elsewhere, Mel wakes up and finds herself in an underground pit. To her surprise, she reunites with her supposed deceased brother, Kino, from whom she learns the truth about their mother, Ambessa. Mel is Ambessa's illegitimate daughter with an unknown man who seemed to have come from a powerful group of mages. Mel has inherited that power, as evidenced by her golden armor, and that power is what the Black Rose is after. This is the reason why Ambessa initially sent her to Piltover, and in the process, she has to forsake Kino, all to keep Mel safe. Mel realizes she's under an illusion. Using her awakened powers, she undoes the illusion and tries to escape the pit. At the Hex Vault, Jayce finally materializes and returns, but he's a changed man. The hammer he brings back is very much different from what he had earlier, and he keeps repeating a promise to himself. He won't fail. Salo is also there, who has been healed by Viktor and is now part of his commune. Through Salo, Viktor discovers Jayce's return, as well as the presence of the wild rune in him. Jayce declares Hextech a curse, and Viktor shouldn't have given it to the people. He's sorry for what he's about to do, but he strikes Salo with his hammer, killing him instantly. Meanwhile, Jinx seeks Vi out to let her know that they have Vander back. Jinx finds her sister fighting in pit arenas, spiraling into depression after her fallout with Caitlyn. She and Isha lead her to the mines, where their biological parents used to work. Vander tracks Jinx and Isha there. Vi pushes them away to protect them from Warwick. But just like what happened to Jinx, Vander recognizes Vi. The beast hugs his daughters, with Isha even included in their little reunion. Vi and Jinx decide to bring Vander to Viktor's commune in the hopes of a recovery. It takes days for Viktor to separate the two-headed wolf beast from Vander's consciousness, but he's gradually making progress with his memories. The commune remains in peace, not knowing the chaos that will befall them. With Sinjid's help, Ambessa and Caitlyn track Vander to the commune. Sinjid walks in first, hoping to convince Viktor to surrender Vander, but Viktor refuses. Vi spots Singed, returning empty-handed to their camp, and that's when Caitlyn intercepts her. Later, Caitlyn brings the handcuffed Vi into Ambessa's tent, and then she accompanies Singed back to the commune to help capture Vander. Ambessa is satisfied that Caitlyn is following her orders, but she couldn't have been any more wrong than that. It turns out, all this time, Caitlyn has been suspicious of Ambessa's true intentions. She's played her part, but she never dropped her guard down, and Caitlyn knows she can always trust Vi. Vi traps Ambessa, then she returns to the commune, which is already in chaos. Caitlyn betrays Singed, but she gets knocked down by Rictus. Jinx joins the fray to protect Vander, but Rictus's weapon has anti-magic runes, which simply absorb any attack from Jinx's gemstone-powered minigun. Vander wakes up and throws Rictus out. Jayce also arrives in the commune, and he sees that Viktor has done what they've always intended to do. But Jayce knows now that Hextech should never have been created. Despite frequent flashes of chaos in his head, he remains focused on finding Viktor, whom he finds in his lair. No words are exchanged between the two friends. Jayce uses his mercury cannon to kill Viktor. Everyone who's been healed by Viktor drops dead, as if their connections to life have been severed. This includes Vander, and unfortunately the wolf within takes over the body. The beast spews lava out of its body and wreaks havoc on anything and anyone nearby. Ambessa and her army arrive just in time to see Rictus getting ripped apart by the beast. In the middle of the mayhem, Isha sees Jinx wounded and is in the way of the beast. The mute kid runs towards the beast as she loads Jinx's minigun with 3 gemstones. With one last look at Jinx, Isha fires the gun, causing a massive explosion and turning everything to white. So, what exactly happened to Jayce to go 180 and crash out like that towards Viktor? And where are Ekko and Heimerdinger? It turns out when they got consumed by the wild rune, they were sent to different timelines. Ekko has been sent to an alternate reality where the Hextech has never been created. created, and Zaun is prospering organically. Heimerdinger is also sent there, but 3 years earlier than Ekko, and he's seen what could have been if only the Council allowed Zaun to prosper like them. This reality results from a different outcome during that fateful heist. It's shown that Vi perished in that explosion, and it's implied that Jayce may have died there as well. With this different outcome, Powder doesn't become Jinx. Milo, Clagger, Benzo, and Vander are still alive, and Vander patches things up with Silco. Ekko is disoriented to have this totally different reality, and it's especially hard to deal with a trauma-free Powder. But he has a strong sense of responsibility, believing he must return to his original universe to save his people. With Powder and Heimerdinger's help, Ekko retrieves a runic gemstone from the ruin department, recreates the wild rune, and uses it to power a time reversal device. In the process, Ekko falls in love with Powder, but he chooses to leave that blissful universe. The device can only reverse 4 seconds of time, so Heimerdinger sacrifices himself so Ekko can return. On the other hand, Jayce is sent to an apocalyptic world where Viktor successfully turns Piltover into a desolate dystopia. Suffering from a badly injured leg due to a fall, Jayce continues his trek towards the top of the hexgates. There, he sees an eerie mechanical figure holding onto a hammer, which he instinctively believes is the future him. In front of Jayce, the mage from his childhood appears. Jayce realizes that the creation of Hextech is the beginning of the apocalypse, and he must return to a point in time when he can stop Viktor from fulfilling his goals. The mechanical figure gives Jayce the hammer, and the mage helps him return to his original timeline. In the aftermath of the explosion in Viktor's commune, Mbessa takes over the remains, and Singed manages to preserve Viktor's body using Warwick's blood inside a cocoon. Despite this, Viktor remains lucid. Through one of his followers, he tells Mbessa that he can achieve his glorious evolution using the wild rune found in the Hex Vault. Viktor's glorious evolution intends for humanity to surpass their physical and emotional limitations through Hextech augmentation. In his mind, this is the only way to end humanity's suffering and to reconcile conflicting emotions like rage and compassion that cause that suffering. Mbessa promises to bring Viktor to the Hex Vault, and in return, he must evolve all the soldiers she'll bring him. In Piltover, Jayce and Mel reunite after Mel escapes the Black Rose, but they are interrupted by a mechanical humanoid controlled by Viktor, and its purpose is to convince Jayce that the glorious evolution has always been Hextech's destiny. Jayce refuses to listen, and together with Mel, they defeat the figure. Back in the commune, Viktor gives Singed the go signal for his complete transformation. Meanwhile, the imprisoned Jinx laments losing Isha, and she rationalizes how people important to her either leave or die. She hallucinates about Silco telling her that killing is a cycle, and the only way to end it is to run away. When Vi comes to release her, she makes a fateful decision. Jinx locks up her sister, telling her that she deserves to be happy with Caitlyn. Later, Caitlyn checks in on Vi, knowing that Vi will sneak in to release her sister. The two reconcile and reignite their relationship with lovemaking. Jinx returns to Zaun, where she intends to end her life. Having returned from the alternate reality, Ekko saves her just in time. At last, the day arrives when the Noxian army, led by Mbessa, attacks Piltover. Her warriors are mostly injected with Shimmer, and Warwick pulls the cocoon where Viktor supposedly is. Caitlyn leads the charge in detonating the cocoon. They must prevent him from reaching the Hex Vault and get the wild rune. Vi joins the other enforcers defending the Hexgate, while Jayce goes to the Hex Vault to dismantle it. A soldier manages to put the bomb onto the cocoon. Unfortunately, a loose nail clogs its mechanism and it doesn't detonate. Caitlyn and her officers are captured, but before she can be executed, Mel uses her magic to save her. At that point, reinforcements from Zaun arrive, led by Jinx and Ekko. The dusty battlefield becomes colorful as Jinx's plumes of toxic fumes fill the air. Warwick, now stripped of Vander's memories and humanity, engages the sisters in a fierce battle. Then, reinforcements arrive for the Noxians too, in the form of mechanical humanoids similar to the one that attacked Jayce and Mel. Mel and Caitlyn double-team Mbessa, but the Noxian warlord proves to be a force to behold on the battlefield. Aside from her superior combat skills, she also has the anti-magic runes from Rictus's weapon, making Mel's magic support ineffective. In a decisive move, Caitlyn sacrifices an eye to remove Mbessa's runes, creating an opening for Mel to trap her mother. A Black Rose sorcerer arrives, finally killing Mbessa before Mel can change her mind and free her mother. While mayhem continues above ground, Viktor secretly infiltrates the Hex Vault where Jayce is. Viktor takes control of the wild rune. Then, he takes Jayce up to the top of Hexgate, where he controls everyone on the battlefield. Even Jayce is helpless as strings of the Arcane attach to his head, connecting him to Viktor's world of glorious evolution. Everyone is trapped, except for Ekko, who winds in and out of the humanoids trying to get near Viktor. His time travel device can only wind back 4 seconds, which greatly helped him. But when he gets trapped, and 4 seconds is not enough to escape, escape, Ekko turns up the gauge and throws the device towards Viktor. The wild rune inside the device clashes with Viktor, causing everyone and everything to become suspended in time. Viktor's mask cracks, letting him see that he's actually destroying everything instead of uniting them under his control. Jayce takes this chance to convince Viktor to stop his plans by showing him his encounter with the mage. It turns out this mage is Viktor himself, coming from another timeline where things ended in a dystopian hellscape, similar to what Jayce witnessed. Viktor has been experimenting with different runes, hoping to see in which timeline his humanity can be preserved, and only in this reality can that be successful with Jayce helping him. At last, the current Viktor realizes his mistakes. Together with Jayce, they destroy the wild rune, releasing everyone from its strings. But this comes with a high price. Both Jayce and Viktor disappear into oblivion. When Vi and Jinx get released from their string, they continue their fight against Warwick. It comes to a point when Jinx has to save Vi from Warwick's onslaught, and she sees her chance to let her sister live happily. Vi is helpless, seeing Jinx in peace as she lets Warwick grab her. Then she detonates her signature monkey bomb, and all Vi can hear is the ensuing explosion. After the war, Piltover starts again, and this time they're changing things. New sets of counselors sit on the table, with Savika among them, representing Zaun at last. Mel returns to Noxus to find out more about her true heritage. Despite all things, she acknowledges her mother's sacrifice to keep her safe. Caitlyn studies the blueprints of the hexgate where the sisters fought Warwick, and she smirks as she realizes something. Vi stays with her, and they look forward to a future where they are together. Somewhere, a ship leaves the port of Piltover. Do you think Jinx is really dead? What do you think happened to Jayce and Viktor? Comment your thoughts below and see you in the next recap.